Welcome to the College of Applied Sciences. Alanis love kids and consorts. Some of the last look at each other, the children make great eyes. All of the above mentioned seems particularly excited to be small Ruba. With open mouth he looks at him. The qualifications of Director Regis Vectis are obviously hidden. In any case, there must be other people than to be welcomed or hold a welcome sermon. Impossible that a clown this prestigious and well-situated house heads. Soderal dear pupil, pupils and new arrivals. The latter would have been enough, he clears his throat. Today, therefore, for you begin the real life. This in turn means for the daw, he points the finger at random with a few adult human species, the other he can. The fact that you can say goodbye now. I personally take the age much too seriously. Yes, so shake a bit puzzled by all the parents again the hands of your offspring, or hug one last time, do not worry dear rascals, with the word he means both large and small. Our system of networked individuality has already brought generations of students in front of you on the right track. You will also ridiculous these few more years to survive well apart exceptions. Again he smiles on both cheeks, the joke seems to like him more. A word to the relatives. Our office is always to achieve, you know, online and by phone. We have your data there, you will get your communications package. He is now directly targeting the first graders, the parents had been resolved for him already in the air. Hippolyta, dear students. Times, for the school. Let's go. So the caravan moves toward the school auditorium. This is the first opportunity for Henley and his class comrades to consider a closer look. Right next to him a good-looking and dressed in black-haired girl runs from the eastern seas. Keck you to celebrate the day with a small wine-colored trim cylinder. You noticed him. Friendly smile she says. Hi, I'm Petch-a-boon. I'm Henley, we want to stay with the briefing, he asks. She nods. Patchara Petch-a-boon, a diplomat's daughter from the provinces of the rising sun here on the Trivi. Henley knows little at this point how much is linked their fate once. Currently, he is glad to have found the first time after more than 40 days with a friend. The building is functional in design, was on unnecessary frills deliberately. Clean lines dominate. In contrast to his appearance seems Regis Vectis' spirit to be so tidy, however it must be said that this educational institution was built long before his time. It is chaotic, the chaos surrounding, others prefer simplicity in empty rooms. Pragmatism prevails in the clothing of students. Not one is wearing a Hawaiian shirt, baggy pants or other brightly colored couture. If even color, then decent and plain. Expressionism in fashion or ever-changing trends run after which it will have disappeared for centuries. The auditorium is reached soon. Regis goes to his lectern. Hippolyta in tow. Approximately in the middle of the room then he is also. Harold of Westerburg, as always, one hand in his pocket. The one who looks at him like a disgruntled teacher, as he had 3 looks. Lyubomir Ilyev, a teacher of military history. Retired. Harold is soon surrounded by some guys who think more or less stupid with him. This cluster attracts attention of many, except for Patchara Petch-a-boon, a Henley and Prince of Westerburg. They giggle at telling. No way in the first series. Henley says to you, totally inconspicuous, a quick glance Invention because he knows you agrees. At the forefront of crowd anyway just. Well, the usual suspects. Henley looks around. He seeks the Zaplajan Ruba from before. This is to discover. However, nowhere. This is now ready Vector Regis enrollment speech to. He clears his throat, curious eyes to see him. Alanis College. La la la, who devil has you riding here to get started? An opening sentence of surprise at the students and causing slight shaking of the head in the college. Especially the military teacher seems angry as before. Part of the teaching team is also there, behind the lectern on the wall they are around. Most of you, but let's assume. You know your director, after all, he is 20 years in the post. 7 years of training are now available to you that my speech is finished, silence in the room, then slap some of the new students helpless. Stop, wait. I can think of something one. Haha. He waving. The first thing I would like to welcome Prince of Westerburg Harold, the son of our revered Queen Hypatia I, which is also the patron of this noble house. It shows both arms invitingly in the direction of the addressed. This time also the severe Lyubomir Ilyev clapping eagerly. The drones throw around to Harold admiring glances. The presented itself takes on the greeting without visible emotion. Networked individuality means less adherence to tradition rather than modernity, and the avant-garde in the teaching field included most of the newcomers. Henley had no idea what exactly was meant. Too many foreign words. Just understand, he continued. We could not care where you gain your knowledge. We even matter whether you attend classes at all. Now he turns off completely well. Besides, he is suddenly the you arrived. Apparently he has forgotten that there are 12 years before him. It can also be everything he says as he sees fit, and the style it is more than matter. But one thing you must be clear. There is a basic rule. A clear instrument that shows us whether you are eligible for a transfer. Now it gets exciting. Henley thinks, like most others too. The examination period is exactly determined. The examination dates of all subjects in grades 1 through 7 are already fixed. For all subjects in which you are, in addition to enroll your 4 main subjects, you have to this day, exactly at this hour, be personally present. Quote, the incredulous looks abound. He continues, if you want to reach the next grade, give added there were enough helpful. In other words, 2 5 sticks. Many are now pinched faces. What is this? You can skip easily. Only to check to be there. Cool. Finally, the director says. Yes, it is. With 2 or more poor, no transfer is possible. You can select other subjects. The school leaving stage an attack or to hang himself. True to the motto. If all else fails, I'll hang on me. Children are unbiased. They learn quickly. Sure, you have understood its rationale and hide his strange sense of humor. In addition, standing still is very hard, so heavy applause breaks out. Everyone is curious how it goes now. Pleased to note the popularity vector Regis O. He points to Hippolyta and nods to you shortly. This occurs now in front of the microphone where she stumbles slightly. She winks at the crowd, apparently it is a little nervous. Also, your oversized glasses constantly sliding towards the nose tip. Dear students. My name is Hippolyte Trick. Only a few smile because of her surname, but some of the drones there. Do not worry, I'm not a teacher, but I run only the secretariat here. So you can say I am responsible for the Schriftkram. Above are some of your sheet of paper, rummaging in it. So, where were we? Ah yes. In a few minutes to be transferred to your comms plans, including the hours of elective courses offered. Quote, it should be noted that 4 of the 9 single species are compulsory subjects. These consist of science, language, planetary science and economy. They must necessarily be occupied by each student. Quote, the remaining 5 multi-species are electives. This you provide us to the end of next week. You are invited to try out all the time. Quote. Yes, certainly. Prince Westerburg, herald of the elective. Interregional communication, appear with Rubas and Emets on the scene. If up to this point have any questions, she looks around, no one raises his arm. Harold talks quietly with his hearing. The special is now. She continues. That each subject and each hour is offered several times per week. So there is no fixed classes but only one such year. Quote, change your comrades can. The advantage is that you all know it. She pauses briefly. Is there now a little unclear? Log and quiet. Hesitantly picks up a discreet girl your hand. Nod your Hippolyta. I have 2 questions, says the student. Is there a class president? I also wanted to ask if we have fixed school holidays. Quote, the secretary looks at you with gratitude and said. Good question. 2-1. No, there is neither a class representative or vintage speaker. There are no parents' evenings. Everyone counts the same and can always come to us. This also holds true for your parents. Quote, for the second point. Yes, there are fixed holiday periods of constant through the seasons but also normal holidays, such as at the Founders. All of this can be found in the near future to your comms with your enrollment documents. She takes a deep breath. You can see in her that she is happy if your performance is over. Now a few words to the property. The young boy living on the campus, for the girls. There is also a hostel. The rules on this and the whole bladder, we also send you on your communication device. Quote, living here in Liporo you can go home happy. If you want you can stay away from the lesson complete, although this is rare. Did not feel like a really. Well, after the first lap of honor before he flies out. Quote, then you will see that there is only exactly one Alanis College. Believe me about it. You are privileged. You have caught it very well. Some of your parents have really, oh just forget it, use your unique opportunity. I wish you luck. She wiped a handkerchief over his forehead. She does not look to the relief. Regis Vector steps forward and knocks her short on the shoulder and says, turning to the students. Still alive. Good, grade 1. Quote. Hippolyta shows you now the way over to the dining room. We teachers are at last in our teaching. After all, there are 6 other volumes except you. I may see one or the other but soon. Quote. He makes a final gesture. Applause coming from all sides. Then the amount is slowly moving. 8. Svinenysh Patchara Petch-a-boon runs beside Henley. She is lost in thought, thinking about something sharp. She asks, do you have what you take, just at that moment shaking your comms. Ha, Henley says. What a coincidence. This must be the lesson plans. You dig out your mobile phones. Without these small computers it's hard to imagine a life. Each student has a communication apparatus. The front is in their entirety from a screen, the back is made of solar cells, in the middle is the energy storage and energy transmitter installed. To charge it, you shall briefly with the face downward. Battery chargers can remember any more. The efficiency of the panels is so high that you can even download the telco in the Indie night. This is the designation for the species of night when the Ra is down, but seems to 0.92 light-years away India. The nearby star is the second brightest object in the sky. Even brighter green than the Trimoa. There are a total of 6 stages on the night trivi including the moon phases. On the day all these effects are of course not significant. Back to the comms. The few millimeter-thick device are true all-rounder and robust companion. Their gel-sealed and shock-resistant, cushioning design make almost indestructible. The low weight to survive falls from any height. Depending on your taste you can use them. On-screen keyboard input, and Wutscheln wagging, voice input and eye movement are possible. Most use the latter, with a blink a mouse equivalent. Look Patchara, inter-regional communication. Cross-species learning experiences. Cultures, and field trips that sounds great on. Oh yeah, we eat, she says, as excited as he. Military history. The glorious past, a chance for future generations. I think I must take. Henley pulls a muscle. Then he says, well, is only an hour, have you already found something nice? Patchara, she is lost in your comm, compares all the data. After a short while, you think. All Solaris management, computer science and social design. Henley laughs. Okay, the first 2 are for me, the interpersonal blah blah blah. I leave you, then yes missing only a subject. Patchara mutters, blinking wildly, with flashing eyes, you control your comm, then the relief. Here. Henley. Look. Evolution or medical robot technology. What do you say? Quote. So I find the metal bucket while funny, but I think a bit about our biology is exciting. Patchara nods. So you have your 9 subjects together when you arrive in the dining room. By next Friday we now have time to transmit the data, says Henley. Now we showen but first you have to fill, well, a dining room, what to report on it big. Henley looks around. Harold Grape is grown again. It also shows for the first time older students. They come and go as they apparently are funny. Locker is the mood that's still going to be disciplined. The freedom with which one provides the students appear to be fruit. You sit down at a place and eat free. What's next on the program? Women's secretary, ask Henley. Again, you control your comm with eyes and muttering, let's see, oh ho, look here. Inter-regional communication and beautiful, what a coincidence. They seek more details. Room E12, this is the ground floor. In an hour. Since I'm excited. Quote. You are about 60 minutes later before E12 with like-minded about 20. About half consists of Ruba and Emets. As expected, missing Harold. A particularly Emet leisurely approaching. It is the teacher in the fold inter-regional communication with Hixio Pulk. He holds his comm outside the door, it opens. The children pure flow. Henley and Patchara you make. You can find place side by side in the second row, almost entirely outside. Hixio goes very slowly up to his teacher's chair, unpacked his belongings and then slowly turns to the blackboard. Blink. 2 big excited eyes in the door. Henley noticed it immediately, he nudges Patchara. On tiptoe sneaks the new kid, and he looks diligently for a place. Then he explodes. He started sprinting, witched around the corners in the second row and landed directly on the free space on the bench next to the very outside Patchara Petch-a-boon. Some of the students giggle, including Henley and Patchara. The young Ruba panting heavily, but is satisfied. He smiles. Hexiopulk is only now finished on the board. Only his name he has written down the whole time. The one student was late to him remains closed. Even now he is dedicated to prefer his script, he rummages around in it lazily. The two big eyes Patchara curiously. Hello hello. I'm Svinenysh, then he asks, you are who? I'm Patchara, she says. Holding out her hand. And I'm Henley, he also gives him his hand. Ruba Svinenysh the blink, he considers what to do now. Then he just takes his hands and shakes it in the same machine gun speed. Patchara. Henley. Svinenysh. Good hello, he says happily and a little too loud. Therefore, he lets go and holds the same hand over her mouth. He made really small. Where have you been all this time? Ask Patchara. Svinenysh whispers. I run great and I hunger, he pulls a sad face misery. Patchara is concerned. Then we go right after class in the cafeteria, she says. Since you are sitting now side by side in rows, the three of the inter-regional communication. The lessons follow from now on, only half-heartedly. It's also off to sleep even though Hexiopulk's really hard. But 150 years EMIT and 12-year students hold different tempos. Patchara and Henley are looking forward to learning about your new colleagues in more detail. Svinenysh yourself constantly looking at the clock built into his Ruba calm. He's great seems hungry. He often keeps his stomach. Then again, he pretends he is in deep sleep, just to practice with the fingers air gymnastics or track with the head of a fly that buzzes before him through the classroom E12, immediate life-prolonging measures actually. Major General Pavel Rebelkov every reason to be cheerful. Operation New Order is rapidly growing. The whole team Alepto Retslav in the first place is totally with the matter. Delicate threads are woven with the royal troops over there in the indicators system. Top priority is its secrecy. Although Leviathan Westerburg far as the sparse military did his cousin Queen monitor Hypatia I, but it is really only considered to recruit 100% loyalty line supporters for the new job. An endeavor that requires a lot of logistics in the human and technical fields. But Rebelkov has excellent relations. Yes, everything is fine until the appointment tomorrow. Helga has reminded him again until 5 minutes ago about it. Morning at 9 stands at a checkup at Queen's personal physician. Professor Dr. Theo plus Noctios. Although Rebelkov knows the doctor for over 20 years. He has remained a man Theo plus Noctios closed. His private life is unknown, except for the fact that he has never married. However, there are rumors about him are so incredible that you can only shake his head. What should have happened since then in his dissertation celebration, outrageous. What is agreed? However, all are closed, his high reputation and excellent medical expertise. He is the best. It covers only a handful of selected private patients from the realm of the Regental family. Rebelkov remembers him mainly as a clone specialist. Because what he had for him. He was about 16 years before him. The general knows that he has a IPS clone. He is also known that it grows up shielded from the outside top of the mountain sanatorium Old Rose. Is it so much that he needs spare parts? For a better understanding of this point, once the former issue of Dr. Theo plus Noctios. Because it will be important to your future, my dear Rebelkov, we will create for them a clone from induced pluripotent cells. We called the genes October 4. SOX2. KLF4, CMYC activate and then select for accordingly. By growth factors and genetic manipulation, they are then differentiated into gametes. These are primal methylated and transplanted into an artificial womb. Rebelkov's clone is thus nowhere cells are seeded and recombined clone but a real in every sense of the word. It is made of 100% own cell material. This person who grows up under the name of Envy Palmgren far away in the mountain sanatorium Old Rose is an exact, although younger mirror image of the old general. Envy itself has no idea of all this. He was told he is an orphan. So much for the past. Now rapidly back to the here and now, and thus to the forthcoming appointment tomorrow. Let's see what he finds all this time again, thinks Rebelkov with very mixed feelings. Makes him queasy, the invitation itself which consists of only 2 words. Routine internal investigation. It is true Rebelkov has gelumped earlier, as they say. Less with the opposite sex, more because of the career. The young major was doing everything to get ahead professionally. Booze coupled with high nicotine consumption in the old barracks of Trimoa were often on the program. The next day aroba blowing hunting in the swamps of the Trot Andes. Even with superior weapons poses such a hazard hunt. The width of the dense undergrowth is still your domain. Her grim expression reminiscent of the distant relationship of tame Ruba. The Roba are bipedal, just like pigs, but very wild, to hunt on the forest moon of damp. Rugged terrain in this highly intelligent wild boar rotten and massacre from hardened. He almost went on it once currencies even as a spear while his left side above the pelvic bone pierced. Although no bodies have been affected but the bacterial infection. Then was hearty. For years he had had to take antibiotics. Rebelkov is of the sort that leaves the other whining. Plucked him once again a new niggles. It is like this in another form to his subordinates. Humanity is a foreign word for him. He is so real excited to see what the butcher has to suspend him this time. After he had chewed some new, hard-working Ruba, the corners and seems intent only eaten something light for dinner, he lies unusually early to bed. Intensive Medical Research Institute of Her Majesty's Occult Commercial Buildings. Chair. Professor Dr. Theo Noctios Plus stands on the marble plaque at the entrance. Major General Pavel Rebelkov does not require a date or even a waiting room. The nurse at the reception, probably even a doctor agreed, once the professor. Not 5 minutes later. This will appear in person at the scene. Dr. Theo Noctios Plus, the ascetic is a remarkable phenomenon. Impossible to take in the wild, such a person. Although he abhors any kind of sport is not an ounce too much of him. Although he is heart and soul of medicine but he rejects all types of pills or miracle mouth. In the hospital, the sick people is one of his favorite quotes. In his gleaming white coat, he walks to the front desk. "Ah, Rebelkov," he said. "Here we go." He greeted him with a handshake. "Good morning, sir," said the general. "Let the professor away Rebelkov that you get paid," replied Noctios. "The doctor I've bought it. Professor, you make one so that students can attend an intelligent." Quote. Then the doctor shows his hand back into the building. They walk inside. "So, Rebelkov, I heard you are busy, he is the best." The general has no idea how he knows this already. "Yeah," he says hesitantly. "It is good, but Rebelkov. I know that. Are you a man possessed? Just like me. I like that. Our scrap metal casings are faulty. They are full almost before it." Quote. This metaphor means Noctios the human body. He continues. "However, few of the best things to do, which are greater than your own insignificance. Rather than 100 days 1 day's lion sheep. A. Rebelkov does it all just like that first note. He knows his Pappenheimer and knows that it can easily get worse. His private laboratory was soon reached. A golden door sign betrays this in addition. Apparently there are comm, or the GPS receiver to open up automatically command the door, so you go inside. Inside were two protagonists as you could hardly be more different. The one wearing the clothes of a technician and functional programming just how wild his eyes with comm. The other is a doctor. Bright red spots on his otherwise impeccable white coat can be seen. It looks like he comes straight from the animal laboratory. As you see. "Rebelkov, we have bigger with you before," says Noctios. "Let me introduce you. On the left Dr. Septimus Koldrust, head of the Laboratory of Genetic Mechanics Rebelkov." He nods to the aforementioned back. To the right we have the mecha tech Dr. Tylon Abindroth by the Institute of Applied Cybernetics and Robot Technology, also here Liporo, rises again. Rebelkov nods shortly, the addressed only briefly to look, then he was back at one with his comm. Noctios is satisfied. No one has ever seen open laughter, but now he seems happy. It is he seems impressed by this, by him arranged setup. "Gentlemen, I need you like. But first, my dear general. I look a closer look at me." Quote. He is preceded in his consulting room. Rebelkov in tow. The general sits on the spectators. Noctios closes the door. "Rebelkov feel like you are?" the doctor asks as he sits down behind his desk space. "Well, it works. Sometimes a bit tired, but on the whole I am satisfied." Says this. Noctios turns his pen between his fingers, he begins. "Believe me, Rebelkov in these areas is already some patience anything but the truth was told. Rebelkov looks at him. Noctios continues. In your case we will. However, about exactly what we intend to inform, the general is now very tense. What's next? Dr. Tippett Noctios briefly what in his calm. Even in your last check was clearly established that somatic your overall health is far from optimal. It rattles as it were considerably in there. Rebelkov. He points to his upper body. Rebelkov scratches his ear. Your internal organs, continues the doctor, due to years of taking antibiotics and because of your rampant lifestyle against significant damage. We must act. Rebelkov frowns. I'll do shortly. Rebelkov, says Noctios. We plan for a brain transplant to clone your top of the mountain sanatorium. He pauses briefly. Brain transplant, asks Rebelkov. The doctor nods. Yes, you heard right. This is also a proto-operation, which means it was never carried out such. Rebelkov swallows. Noctius continues. The colleague. However, a new quasi-cold rust waterproof process has developed. This helps to reduce Rebelkov's little discomfort. He taps his finger on the table. The professor continues. I was recently up in the old pink and I've seen Palmgren envy. With this sentence he hands over some photos of a skeptical general. What's that? He asks. Well, Rebelkov, the first picture on the left shows your thumbprint and the right of your clone. On the second one recognizes your iris pattern left and right of the Palmgren envy. Rebelkov compares the pictures in amazement. I see no difference, he says finally. There is no difference, Noctios triumphs. Look at the leg. The mole is sitting exactly at the same place. Rebelkov, what we see here is an excellent new host for you. Quote, this is your new life. He says finally. Rebelkov is torn. On the one hand, everyone could really see it all the same, on the other, the brain transplant. Is that actually possible? Noctios read all this in the face of his patients. He had expected this reaction. It is time to pull on the other aces up their sleeve. Sadly, your clone is still too young. The differentiation is ongoing. He is with his Gerardimal 15 years growing. But in 3 years, he has come. Quote, at 18. The timing is ideal. Reached the topology of the highest compatibility. At this time, but quick action is called for. Quote, the mountain sanatorium Old Rose is the most peaceful and most charming place in a radius of 50 light years. Your clone is in the circle of young Mahler, poet and musician brought up. Quote, he reflected further. Rebelkov wondering something. Why just this nebulous sanatorium is a favorite topic of the professor. The catch any small, even the poor Rose stupor. I have known your mother. Nemoa. No wonder she was nursing care. Which has carved itself constantly. She strokes all day today the roses. It's all a question of anesthesia, as I always say. Quote, unfortunately I made during my last visit to the home management's attention that Palmgren unfounded trains first developed aggressive behavior. Despite the beautiful spiritual education, medication is inappropriate in his case. The course is supposed to mature. Quote, he's your clone. Rebelkov, to wait much longer would be fatal. Quote, the last sentences of the doctor ignored the Major General fast. He is now calmed down for now. 3 years. Until then, a lot can happen, he thinks. My dear Rebelkov, I have just a little exaggerated. The next few years we will keep you even more functional. Noctios rolls her index fingers. You might be also hold for 5 years. But under no circumstances. The degeneration of your institutions has begun and is irreversible. We need action. There must be a cut to be made. A sweeping blow. Came to himself asks Rebelkov, are there other options? Yes it is the Noctios respond quickly. And indeed there. Come with me. I will place them in front of you. Quote, he gets up, but has a postscript on his lips. Intensive and conventional medicine. However, who can forget you? There will be different than you think. We have you exploring new avenues. Then he goes out and the general follows him. I transport are outside reached Coldrust and Abendroth around more or less stupid though both are busy with your comms. Dr. Abendroth calm hums. Meeting Noctios Bezgl Rebelkov appears. Thus, it is from this date, exactly 10 o'clock, for the first time for recording. But they are on the ball, my dear Abendroth, Noctios says. Yes, it is exactly 10. Time for the actual meeting. If you want to follow me please. Thus, the competence of troops, including Major General on your way over to the conference hall. I suggest, begins Noctio's colleague Coldrust shall in the release which we plan to move later we will add your expertise about the technology Dr. Abendroth. Dr. Septimus Coldrust start immediately without any fuss or palaver. He is to speak with the door into the house. Before, people tried in animal experiments, a brain transplant by the whole brain up severing the spinal cord. With fatal consequences. Quote, the nerve fibers converge from wrong and therefore in the best case. The thinking in the foreign body is still possible, but there is almost no input at all except the eyes and ears were completely removed rather than transferred, which is never achieved, to get output, so the body control, breathing and speaking, moving or sense of balance is impossible. This gives more than one type locked-in syndrome. Dear dead locked in a bellows, a terrible eating and no yet machine. What reminds me only. Cursed zero energy conservation is the terse comment of Professor Theo plus Noctio's it. Septimus continues. The operation itself is highly complicated. You need a heart-lung machine.